Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I do want to speak about the 5 Barcelona youngsters that destroyed the Galacticos. So we are going to be revolving around Peña, Cubarsí, Alejandro Balde, Casado, and Lamine Yamal. Now, two things, right? I know that I did not reference Fermin Lopez. I would talk about Fermin Lopez in this video, but because his effect was very minimal and there was not really a lot to talk about in regards to Fermin Lopez's performance against Real Madrid, which was not bad, by the way. I'm not going to be talking about his performance in this video. I'm also not going to be talking about Pedri because a lot of people for some reason do assume that Pedri is a La Masia player, but he's not. So he's not going to be in this list. This is strictly only for La Masia players because I want this video to be a way for people to know just how important Barcelona's academy is and why Barcelona's academy is the reason why Barcelona today is very successful. And part of the reason why Hansi Flick even took this job in the first place is because he's very optimistic on what La Masia is producing today. And now we're seeing all of this come into fruition, which is why I'm very enthusiastic about making this video. It's going to be very exciting. So let's first talk about the first player, and I do want to give our flowers to Iñaki Peña. Iñaki Peña has to become the first one on this list because at the age of 25 years old, he did start against Real Madrid. This is a goalkeeper that was at Galatasaray for 6 months back on January 2022 up until June 2022. Then came back to FC Barcelona, but since then, he has not really seen the pitch. Only when we saw Ter Stegen injured, Peña came on, but Peña never was able to take off Marc-Andre Ter Stegen due to performances. And so I don't know what Hansi Flick has been doing on a training level with Iñaki Peña, but whatever Hansi Flick has been doing with Peña, it has been working from a mental standpoint and a emotional standpoint. In this match, the amount of times we saw Iñaki Peña come out of his box to reclaim possession was just insane. We never thought that Peña was able to do such thing. He could have easily gone the easy route and just say, I'm just going to put Szczesny because he has more experience and that's it. Game over. Peña, go back to the bench. But no, Hansi Flick took the bold approach, trained Peña, and made him become a monster at the end of this week. Because let me tell you, if you look at the past 3 games, from Sevilla all the way until the game against Real Madrid, Peña did improve. He improved within a span of 1 week. You can really see the difference. Sevilla, for example, that was a game where he was forced to do a lot of long balls to one of our attacking 3 players, which is Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, or Lewandowski, because Sevilla was pressing Peña a lot of times. So it was not the most ideal scenario. Barcelona, in the end, were able to reclaim the 5-1 win. And then in the match against Bayern Munich, there was a lot of miscommunications going on between the triangle of Inigo Martinez, Cubarsí. Peña did not really know what to say to Inigo Martinez or Cubarsí in terms of who gets the ball, when to push forward. You could just tell that the chemistry was not there yet. I remember one of the Bayern players made a through ball. The ball ended up going to either Inigo Martinez or Peña, and then Inigo Martinez was telling Peña, get the ball, but then Peña was like, no, I just want to stay back because he did seem a little scared. And then Inigo Martinez had to kick the ball out because one of the Bayern players was pressing Inigo Martinez. So in the end, Peña looked a little scared to come out from the box. But then in the match against Real Madrid, he owned Real Madrid. He grew through this week. And not just that, but he had an amazing save on the 14th minute that was basically offside from Real Madrid. We saw Kylian Mbappe receive the ball from Camavinga. Kylian Mbappe goes down the left flank. He passes it towards Bellingham. Bellingham shot the ball, and then Peña made the save right on the line. Once again, even if Bellingham were to score, Mbappe was offside, but still, Peña's reflexes were on point. And in terms of his stats, he had 2 saves from outside the box. 22 out of 29 passes were completed. 5 out of 11 long balls were completed. He had 4 saves. He punched the ball out once. He ran out successfully, which was 2 out of 2 with the ball, had 2 clearances, and I believe that he saved 2 very big shots coming from Kylian Mbappe, which ultimately lowered Real Madrid's confidence because they're like, oh my god, it took so much to get to this point for Mbappe to receive the ball, and Mbappe cannot even be clinical in front of Peña. So now let's move on towards the second player, which is Cubarsí. At the age of 17 years old, he was leading the defensive line. The amount of offside traps that we saw in the Clasico was just insane. You do need a high IQ player to do things like this. Pau Cubarsí at 17 years old is already checking all those boxes. He's one of Barcelona's best defenders and one of the best defenders in the world, and he's orchestrating the defense while being maybe one of the best ball-playing center backs in the world. In this game, he had 43 out of 47 passes completed, 55 touches, 8 passes into the final third, 6 out of 7 accurate long balls, 1 block, 2 interceptions, 7 defensive actions, and 2 recoveries. And if you guys want to see what Cubarsí had to do in this game, right, what was his biggest jobs? Point number 1, to make sure that Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius were covered. As you can see here in this frame, you can see just how difficult Cubarsí's task was. Like, look at that long ball coming from Militao. Cubarsí had to literally face Mbappe and Vinicius in this play here, and we saw this over and over again, and he successfully intercepted this ball. And then there was another moment where we saw Camavinga make a pass to Kylian Mbappe. As you can see here, Cubarsí had to really time his his position well to make sure that Mbappe was offside, which he ended up being. This was considered as his second job. And then as you can see here, another play coming from, I think, Vinicius. I could be mistaken, that could be Bellingham, but another pass goes to Kylian Mbappe. As you can see there, Kubarsi steps forward, almost like imbalancing himself, right? He was about to fall down, as you can see through his weird arm angle and the way that he positions his arms. Kubarsi had to like step forward very quickly. As soon as that player was about to release the ball, Kylian Mbappe eventually became offside yet again. ESPN has also reported that Barcelona have the most offsides drawn with a total of 76, and then you have Brighton in second place with 35. That's literally like almost half. Actually, yes, half of what Barcelona do have. Barcelona have 76, Brighton have 35, Fulham have 33, and then you have Parma with 31. Osasuna and Las Palmas, surprisingly, are in 5th and 6th place. Two other Spanish clubs, but in the end, Barcelona are very dominant, and there is only one clear winner when it comes to who was the best at keeping players out of the game, and that is FC Barcelona. Kylian Mbappe also got caught 8 times offside in the Clasico. So great job to Kubarsi. Moving on towards the next player, and that is Alejandro Balde. At the age of 21 years old, Alejandro Balde yet again showed why he is one of the best left backs in the world. Now, he is a dangerous left back, right? Because we know how fast he is, we know how great of a dribbler he also is, but he had a very quiet game in the first 45 minutes, and here's going to be the reason why. Real Madrid came with a very specific game plan. Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius were tucked in together on the left side with Camavinga, another midfielder who was playing almost like a false left back, right? He was the second left back to Mendy, and Camavinga's main role was to feed those balls to either Kylian Mbappe or Vinicius, because as you can see here, through the average position of Real Madrid, you can see that through these two lines, that is red, Camavinga, Vinicius, and Mbappe are very tucked in together. There is very little effect going on Madrid's right side. There's no shapes, no triangles, no nothing. Madrid wanted to keep the ball on their left side, which meant that on Barcelona's left side, we barely saw any plays there. So Alejandro Balde did not really see a lot of the possession. Now here's the thing, right? Here's also going to be another graph. If you look at Bellingham's position, Bellingham was not even acting like a true midfielder, because we know that Bellingham is a great attacking midfielder, somebody who knows how to score goals. We've seen that last season. He's phenomenal. He's one of the best midfielders in the world when you put him in the correct positions. But in this game, Bellingham was playing as a right back, being a second false right back for some reason to Lucas Vazquez. And because of that, there was space behind sometimes, because sometimes Bellingham wanted to go up, Lucas Vazquez also wanted to go up, and that is how the game opened up for Barcelona's second goal. Vazquez pushed forward, as you can see on this picture here. He pushed forward because he was afraid that Rafinha was about to receive the ball, but then the ball ended up going to Alejandro Balde, and he ate up that space. Nobody was there, and then Bellingham was charged to mark Alejandro Balde. Like, he was forced to be there. Like, think about that, right? An attacking midfielder being forced to play as right back to defend Alejandro Balde. So Frankie finds Alejandro Balde, Balde goes into open space with the ball, Lewandowski gets into position, and then the cross came and Barcelona scored the second goal. It's crazy, right? Because the more I do analyze this Clasico match, the more I'm starting to realize how ridiculous Carlos Ancelotti's game plan was. He used Bellingham as a false right back, my friends, and Camavinga is also a false left back. How are you sacrificing the careers of Bellingham and Camavinga because they're so great in the attack only because you want to fit Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius up top, which also did not work? It also goes to show that Ancelotti was scared. He was scared because if you're going to sit back your best attacking midfielders like Camavinga and Bellingham, keep in mind that I know that Camavinga is not a true attacking midfielder, but he knows how to go up top and be effective. But the fact that you want to order these two players to sit back and defend against Barcelona, and you show that you were scared to go up top and be the protagonist in front of your own fans, it shows us that you know, in the end, you guys played very fearful football. Ancelotti was fearful. He was scared of what Barcelona could do with a 17-year-old Lamine Yamal, with Rafinha, who's not even supposedly a real Brazilian, and then Lewandowski, who's 35 years old. That's crazy. If I was Bellingham, I would have been so offended with the role that Ancelotti gave me. And if I was the media and I was consistent, just like how I did, tainted Xavi's era and criticized Xavi's era at Barcelona, I would also criticize Ancelotti and his game plans with his players. Because right now, Ancelotti is not maximizing any of his world-class players. He has been given all the tools in the world, but the game plan continues to fail. But because this is Real Madrid, no one's going to say anything. Madrid and Ancelotti is just going to continue to get protected. So in the end, these are going to be the stats of Alejandro Balde. 90 minutes played, 35 out of 39 passes were completed, 2 chances created, 54 touches, 3 passes into the final third, 2 out of 3 long balls completed, 2 interceptions, 2 defensive actions, 4 recoveries, and 2 out of 2 aerial duels won. Now let's move on towards the next player, and that is Casado. Now this one gets me the most excited. You want to know why? Because Casado, at the age of 21 years old, is already telling us that we no longer have to focus on reinforcing the defensive midfield position. I keep wanting to say that because the whole agenda, the whole story about what has been going on through the summer earlier this year was Barcelona needed to sign a central defensive midfielder. Everybody was saying that. I even said that because we were like, okay, Frankie de Jong might not be a true defensive midfielder. Gavi is still out for 9 months. Pedri's not even a central defensive midfielder. We don't really have one. But only to find out like 2 months later, Bernal was coming through. Unfortunately, Bernal went through a 9-month injury, which really does suck, by the way. But through the midst of all of this, Casado came in. Once again, we were talking about getting Mikel Merino or Rodri or Zubimendi or Joshua Kimmich or Guido Rodriguez. But Barcelona can officially announce, and I think that it is safe to say, that they can save money in that position because Casado has been just a boss in the midfield. He has been class. This whole story started with Joan Laporta telling the media that Barcelona have great players such as Casado, and Hansi Flick does trust Casado. And all of us were like, okay, Casado, let's see what happens. Is Hansi Flick lying, or is he telling the truth, or is Joan Laporta just trying to protect FC Barcelona? What's going on here, right? Because we did not really believe it. But Marc Casado has been amazing as a defensive midfielder. Freaking amazing. He has provided 4 total assists so far this season with Barcelona, and 2 of them came this week, one against Bayern and one against Real Madrid. And if you look at the assists that he did against Real Madrid, you can see that as he was taking the ball forward into open space, you can clearly see that the 2 center backs of Madrid were very occupied on defending Rafinha and Pedri, leaving open space in the middle. You can see it through the fullbacks here. It's very clear. And then you can see Lewandowski pointing towards the open space. And he said, look, these 2 center backs here are very occupied with Rafinha and Pedri. And Casado read that. He read that perfectly. He saw the open space, and that is why he was able to split the whole defense and the midfield through one very good through pass, and it went straight to Lewandowski. This type of pass that I saw, I'm like, bro, this is the exact same type of pass that Xavi did with Iniesta back in the 2010 Clasico when they were playing at the Camp Nou and Barcelona won 5-0. It was in the first goal when Xavi split the whole defense through one very strong pass. Iniesta controlled the ball and the first goal went through. This type of pass is very similar to the one of Casado. So Casado implemented a Xavi type pass. It's insanity. And at the same time, he has been intercepting. He has been doing a lot of clearances, going up against the strongest midfielders in Madrid, like Camavinga, like Bellingham, like Tchouaméni. Casado is just that guy. I'm really starting to believe that this guy is starting material. I no longer want to say that Casado is going to be a backup or great for squad depth. I think that Casado really is a player that can start with Pedri, or can start with Frankie, or can start with Gavi, whoever. He can maybe even start with Bernal by next season, depending on how well Casado does for the next 6 to 7 months. And I'm assuming that he's going to be very consistent. So in this game, he had 70 touches, which I believe was the most, 14 passes into the final third, 2 clearances, 1 headed clearance, 2 interceptions, 10 defensive actions, okay? That's crazy, right? 10 defensive actions, which was one of the most, 4 recoveries, and 5 duels won. As you can also see here in the heat map, Casado won the ball a lot and had a lot of ball activity in Madrid's half. So he was not necessarily the deepest midfielder here. Casado was up there trying to win the ball against Bellingham or Camavinga, and he did successfully with Pedri. Usually it was Casado regaining the ball and then passing it immediately to Pedri, or Pedri winning the ball and passing it immediately to Casado. They were exchanging roles, and sometimes when Casado was being pressed a lot in the middle, he always looked and scanned for spaces, and he looked for either Rafinha or for Balde to be open, and he successfully did that. So this is a player that brings emotion and character onto the pitch. I mean, if you look at the brawl that he had with Vinicius, Vinicius was pissed in the way that Casado confronted. Vinicius was pissed in the way that Casado confronted him. It was so fun to see. And then lastly, I do want to end it with Lamine Yamal. This one is going to be very quick because I think that all of us understand just how effective Lamine Yamal has been and how well he played against Real Madrid. Now, he did score but had a very tough 45 minutes. Very similar to Alejandro Balde. He could have made a pass to Rafinha on the first half that could have led towards the 1-0. He made a couple of misplaced passes, but we knew it is not about how you start, it is about how you finish. He ended up scoring. He celebrated like Cristiano Ronaldo by saying, calma, calma, I'm here. Don't worry, Madrid fans. The entertainment is here. You no longer have to see this haram football coming from Madrid. We are here to bring you guys the entertainment. And then after that, he was dancing like the way that Madrid did in the locker room last season with Alejandro Balde in front of the Madrid fans, just mocking Ronaldo, mocking the rest of the Madrid team. With this goal, he became the youngest player ever to score in a Clasico match at the age of 17 years old and 106 days. But bravo to all the La Masia players, right? I have to clap it up for the players. I know that you guys want to say that it sounds super sus, but I just gotta do it. There we go. You know what I'm talking about? Lamine Yamal, Cubarsí, Casado, Alejandro Balde, Iñaki Peña. You guys did amazing. Just gotta clap it up again. Freaking amazing, guys. Visca Barça, this is what I'm talking about. Let's continue down this way with our youngsters, and we won't stop seeing success. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.